Now, I know that Luke Air Force Base is the preferred site for the F-35A pilot training mission.
Right.
And we, of course, are hoping that it will be selected by the, is it by the Air Force?
It will be by the Secretary of the Air Force and the Chief of
Okay.
Staff of the Air Force on a recommendation from the Air Force staff.
So what makes the F-35 aircraft so great?
Well, it's a quantum leap in technology from the F-16. I remember when I was in the Air Force and the F-16 was brand new. You know, the pilots would stand there and look at the F-16 and just couldn't believe the performance of the airplane. The F-22 and the F-35 have that same type of advancement in technology, and to be competitive to our peer adversaries around the world, we need a fifth generation fighter. It's stealth capabilities to defend the nation.
Well, let me talk about that for a minute. You said to be competitive around the world. Wouldn't the F-35A be the most highly advanced aircraft in the world?
It absolutely will. And if, as you know, Councilwoman, that fighter pilots don't want an even fight. We want to stay ahead of the game, and so we don't want to go into any conflict where things are even. So we want to stay ahead of whoever our adversary may be.
So what makes the F-35 so important to our nation's security? What does it do that the F-16 isn't doing?
Well, that's a great question. And as our peer adversaries have air defenses, their technology increases and improves. F-16s can no longer penetrate those air defenses. And so we need the technology of a stealth fighter like the F-35, the F-22, to be able to do that.
So in other words, the F-35 has more stealth capability than the F-16?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Significantly.
Now, will this F-35 be replacing the existing F-16s, or will they be in addition to those?
Well, it's a transition. We're not going to switch from one to the other on a particular day. So it will replace the F-16, the A-10, the Navy F-18. It's going to replace a lot of those fourth generation type fighters. And so it's not only an Air Force fighter, but it's going to be a Navy and Marines as well.
Let me ask you another curious question. I've heard, and I don't know what the figure is, but like to build one airplane like an F-16, it's like $495 million or something. What does it cost to build one F-35?
Typical fighter pilot answer is it depends. It depends on where in the production you're looking at and what you're counting in the cost. F-16s are running somewhere around $35–40 million.
Okay.
F-35s I've heard a $70 million figure.
Okay.
You would have to go online and research that. I don't have the exact number. And again, it depends on if you're taking all the research and development into the factor or where you're looking at.
Okay. Let's get back to why this is so important. Why is it so important to the entire state, not just Glendale, but the entire state, to acquire this F-35 mission?
That's a great question, and it's Luke Air Force Base has always been an economic engine for the West Valley. That's not our priority at the base. Our priority at the base is producing those pilots to defend the nation. But for the surrounding community, $2.17 billion a year into the state's economy from Luke Air Force Base. Now, Glendale is very proud of the Super Bowl, and I love the Super Bowl when it comes here, believe me. But we do the equivalent of 4.5 Super Bowls every year in economic impact. The military for the entire state of Arizona is $9.5 billion. Far and away, the largest economic engine for the state of Arizona, single industry, is the military.
How is that money generated? Is it from people who build stuff on a base, or is it from people who maybe cater? I mean, how, when we talk about all this money that's generated, who's?
Several ways. It does. It comes from basic contracts of construction. Whatever base is selected this summer for the F-35 will have an immediate construction cost that they'll have to put into. If Luke is selected, that runs around $150 million right away. The other economic impact are the personnel, the 6,000 people that work at Luke Air Force Base, their salaries, and then it goes into separate secondary tiers of the family salaries, the wives working in the community, and a lot of that. So that's how it all adds up.